Thank you, Solicitor General, for your very kind words of welcome. Thank the Taltala for words of wisdom this morning. Honorable Chief Justice, honorable judges, distinguished jurists, members of the judiciary, honorable ministers, distinguished diplomats and guests. There is a group here called practitioners. I don't know who they are. Respected practitioners, I hope you'll end your practice very soon and become experts at what you're doing. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Nisambul Vinaka. Once again, thank you for your very kind words of welcome. And the words of introduction, you're probably wondering, what of all that makes this man that's speaking to us worthy of becoming our Prime Minister? I'm just here because I was elected. I don't know whether Mr. Wiley is here, but about 20 years ago, I addressed the Fiji Australia and the Australia-Fiji Business Council in Sydney. And somebody asked me about land laws in Fiji. I mentioned then that we would have to be prepared to change our land laws. We cannot be like King Canute on the beach, trying to stop the waves. Last week, we were talking about trying to stop the waves. And I was reminded of what I told Wiley Clark and his group of businessmen and women in Sydney about 20 years ago. But either stopping the waves or adapting to the progress of the waves then and climate change now. Before coming to you this morning, I was drafting something that I could form into a speech or an article. I'm calling it Heritage to Wealth. When we study our laws in Fiji, we study our politics, they're all based on something. How much have we moved from that base? Perhaps that is what you're gathered here to talk about. As you heard from the Solicitor General in his words of introduction today and words of welcome, that this conference, this annual conference, started 25 years ago in 1998, when I was Prime Minister after the second election in 1994. I had a very short stint as a Prime Minister from 92 to 94, and then a full term from 94 to 99. Why am I back? I was elected again. Why are you back? Because this is part of the requirement of your career, of your profession. Is that all? That is the question you have to ask yourselves and one another over the course of the next 2 days. It is an honor for me to be here, to deliver once again this opening address. As I said, it was started in 1998. It was convened after the 1997 Constitution, or the 1997 Constitution Amendment Act was passed, and also the amendment of the Legal Practitioners Act by the SPT government, which I led at the time, SPT-GBP coalition. There were quite a few legal reforms carried out, including the establishment of the Legal Aid Commission in 1996 and the re-establishment of the Fiji Law Reform Commission in 1996 as well. Now, I'm glad that for the third time, the Law Reform Commission is being re-established, and I anticipate that it will be fully operational in 2024. If the Honorable Attorney General and his team will do their work properly and timely. It is timely as well that the law governing the legal practice in Fiji is now being reviewed, and that was recently approved by Cabinet. I urge all legal practitioners to participate and be heard in that review. Your participation is important, given that many of you did not have any say, perhaps, in the promulgation of the current law in 2009. So go to it when you're called to be heard this time around. The 2009 promulgation silenced the legal profession, I'm told. I'm not in the legal profession, so I do not know whether I have been silenced. I refuse to be silent in whatever I do. Arguably, lawyers have a professional responsibility, perhaps even an obligation, to be change agents for society and to stand up for the rule of law and to challenge injustices. That is quite apart from your role in advancing your clients' interests. I'm glad to see that the Fiji Law Society Convention has also been reconvened, and lawyers once again have a choice whether to attend either of or both of these conferences. This milestone 25th anniversary of the Attorney General's Conference is more than just a commemoration. It is a time to reflect on evolution of the legal profession and your pivotal role in our democracy and our development as a nation. As you gather here in this new era of Fiji's governance, we also acknowledge the role of the law and lawyers in this new era and throughout our history. At the same time, it is timely that this annual gathering reviews the continuing evolution of the legal landscape in Fiji and also worldwide. I noticed some very familiar faces in the front bench here, and I add my welcome to you, gentlemen. I always boast about having been a magistrate class 4, or giving the powers of a magistrate class 4. And then I was granted the powers of a judge to sit in a court, in a field general court-martial, to try a soldier under charges of murder. And I carry with pride that the Chief Justice then supported my finding, but reduced the sentence. Your conference topics for the next 2 days, canvass important developments in law and the profession, given the development in digital connectivity and technology. For instance, this age of digital connectivity provides unprecedented opportunities for collaboration, but also for exploration. As lawyers, we have a unique opportunity to extend your reach beyond borders, forging connections and exploring legal opportunities. As lawyers, you're also the custodians of justice in the virtual world. Beyond the commercial relationships and legal opportunities, your responsibility as legal practitioners extend to the protection of individuals. I have so many lawyers in Fiji who have come to my aid when I was in that box that none of you have probably been in court. You must find a way to extend your role beyond the conventional courtroom battles to virtual landscapes where scams lurk. Your skills as legal professionals become invaluable tools in the fight against digital deception. This acknowledges the evolution of platforms which lawyers now inhabit. Then there is the role of lawyers as guardians of justice, particularly for the most vulnerable in our communities. In today's world, grappling with the alarming prevalence of sexual crimes, especially those against women and children, the duty of lawyers becomes all the more crucial. In the pursuit of justice, lawyers must actively understand and address the legal challenges and the sensitivities of those crimes. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the efforts of those of you who have chosen to stand as beacons of protection. As I said, this is not just a celebration of the anniversary of the conference, but a recognition of the legal profession throughout the years, recognition of your sacrifices, of your performances, and your own efforts to further your capabilities in your profession. This is reflective of how lawyers have embraced a more socially impactful role in advocating for justice reforms. Lawyers are no longer confined to the traditional role of solely being courtroom gladiators. You're more than that. You also have the same problem as I have. People see us everywhere, running from courtroom to courtroom, piles of books under our arms. You do that. And I'm seeing in conferences all over the world, and people are wondering whether we are workaholics or Epicureans. Whether we are workaholics or Epicureans. Workaholics, we know, they work very hard, they look for work, and Epicureans are those that occupy high offices and do nothing and get paid. You as lawyers are multifaceted problem solvers. You wear various hats, with those roles evolving as solutions also evolve. The ability of lawyers to navigate diverse systems of dispute resolution highlights the crucial aspect of adaptability. It also underscores your role in delivering justice through a range of problem-solving approaches. Yet your influence does not end with individuals and disputes. It extends to the environment that you inhabit, or we inhabit. I've just come back from the 28th Conference of Parties, the UN Framework, to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. So I looked around the room, that big room that we were in, I noticed only one other person who was there with me in the beginning of this search of sustainable development in this millennium. Senator John Kerry, who was then Secretary of State to President Bush, was present in 1992 at the Earth Summit in Rio, when they first started talking about the millennium, sustainable development for that millennium, and they changed the name of the group that got together then and called them just a conference of parties. Though that's agreed at the time to find solutions to the changing weather patterns of the world. I also saw in the corridor there Mrs. Clinton. And I had a bilateral meeting with, I called him Sir Anthony, and he said, no, call me Tony Blair. So I felt very lonely. A lot of people talking about all these things that we are facing and all the scientific solutions. And I said, well, good for you to be finding solutions now. I was there when we realized we were going to have problems. So we started the conferences, which has now become COP, and we have just had the 28th year of that conference. And you are now celebrating 25 years of yours. You're part of this journey of change, adapting, adopting, and practicing new things that will ameliorate, that mitigate, and also adapt to the changes that we cannot stop. After the high-level week, where leaders deliver national statements that outlined their priorities, our subject matter experts are there in negotiation rooms, battling out the language of the final agreement to come out of this annual conference. Some are still there. The Honorable Minister for Women arrived back this morning, and she will probably be part of the conference if she's not already here. Some are still there working. And how we're going to shape the language for the world leaders to act, while the world leaders have gone back, waiting for the final resolutions to come. And then we will have to act, and we will get your support. Unfortunately, when I got back, the Attorney General told me, sir, you didn't take any lawyers. And I said, there were a lot there. I was probably the non-lawyer in the conference. Who are lawyers? What are lawyers? But I took his point, and they were talking legal language, or legalese, or whatever you call it. We needed experts in our own laws, not just the universal laws that are applied, not only those that are based on British common law. People have come out, and they have developed, and I'm hoping that this conference will come out with our own autochthonous laws, laws that you make, you create, that come out of what we have had in the past, what we are now experiencing, and what we see going forward into the future. Hopefully, this conference, which has started during my time as the Prime Minister then, will come up with these things. These autochthonous laws that are grown out of the population that we have in Fiji and our circumstances in this corner of the world and in the Pacific. And do not be disheartened by our location. We're in the center of the wide ocean. That wide ocean touches the whole continent of North and South America. It touches Asia. It touches the two poles of the world. And in the north, it touches Vladivostok in Russia and Alaska in America. We're not alone. We're far from everybody else, but joined to everybody else by the ocean around us. This is why I have coined a phrase that I have had to try and develop. And I believe there is an aircraft in 90 given by the President of the United States for me to fly around and promote my idea of an ocean of peace. I have not seen the aircraft. I hope it got some pilot and some fuel. But they've taken on that idea of a zone of peace, an ocean of peace. They embraced it. At the summit in San Francisco a few weeks ago, I was honored to be sitting among the world leaders. And the day before, President Biden and President Xi of China had a 4-hour conference. And in the evening, the mayor of San Francisco put on a big reception, very big. And as the laws in America have it, no alcohol in that big reception. I hope you won't have any alcohol in your reception today. There was a big celebration by the mayor. All soft drinks and coffee and tea and cakes. Probably cheap too. They had fireworks. And when I spoke the following morning, I said, we just had a grand display of fireworks. There were a lot of bangs last night. Solo celebration. All of us sitting in that big hall, or standing in that big hall, cheered and clapped. Imagine what the children of Israel and Gaza would be doing if they heard things like that. Nobody said anything. But using what we saw last night, and you, Mr. Biden, and you, Mr. Xi, if you had spent 4 hours, which you did yesterday, sitting down at the table, talking about peace in the world, you'd achieve a lot more than sitting around this table, talking about climate change, talking about the economy. And when the translation came through to Mr. Xi, he looked up to me and smiled, and looked at Mr. Biden, and they both smiled and nodded. I don't know if it'll do any good to the world or not. I've done my bit. I've told them, you have it in your capability, you have it in your hands. You have the ability to sit and talk. And then the actors act. We did that last week, now we have to act. I was very proud to look around the many conference halls we had and see Fijians in their varying roles performing. And one of the things that we finalized at the conference was the Loss and Damage Fund. And the two main architects of that were Fijians. I was very proud when Amen Ayovoli spoke on behalf of that committee and presented the case for the rest of the world. We're going to be doing a lot of things. There are many Fijians in there not seen, but will eventually be heard. I encourage your associations, your group, your profession here in Fiji to participate in all these international conferences. Put in our bit. So many people, in fact, too many people, use the term my 2-cent bit. Don't use the 2 cents. What I said that day to Biden and Xi is not worth 2 cents. It's worth world peace. Do not hold back what you have. Bring it forward at these conferences. Talk about them. The article starting this morning is changing inheritance to wealth. And this is something that has divided our societies in Fiji. Inheritance and wealth. One group has inheritance, one group has wealth. How can we bring two groups together to produce national wealth that will ripple out into the world like the idea of peace? My address today was basically formulated by lawyers. So it is very, very incongruous of me to be talking to you when I'm not a lawyer and trying to read what the lawyers have told me to read to you today. So I will just talk to you as a leader. You are refiners of leaders. You refine leadership. You are quality controllers for leadership. That's what you should be doing with the courts. You refine the qualities of leadership of nations. You refine the qualities of our laws. You adapt and adopt as you go along. We cannot totally have our own autochthonous laws, but we bring in what we can from others' laws and formulate them into what is best for Fiji and Fijians. And I hope that is what you'll get coming out of these conferences. I encourage you to be open with one another. Fight like hell in court, but you come out and work together for the people of Fiji. Today we remember the children of the Middle East, whatever our religious background may be. Today in Israel they're celebrating Hanukkah, the same festival as the Hindus have over Diwali. It's a celebration of light over darkness, a celebration of good over evil, happening exactly 2 months after the battle started, the war started. But there is hope. There is always hope after darkness. I'm here talking to lawyers and judges after the 14th of May, 1987. We've had the 1990 Constitution. We've had the 1997 Constitution. We now have the 2013 Constitution. Are we still evolving our Constitution? Of course, we are evolving. Societies evolve. And I encourage you, and that's the word, encourage, which means take up courage. Take up courage, change what you can. And I'm reminded of St. Francis of Assisi's prayer. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. I wish you a happy conference. Naka.